to AnthropoidEthos, episode 7. In this episode, we had Nika Koplatadze. He's a Georgian artist based in Mexico City. And we discussed mainly how Georgia has played a role in his life, also how his background has brought him to Mexico City, and specifically to the art scene. And we discussed themes like what is a belief, the role of Mexico in his work. And well, I want to also thank the gallery Jaws, where we're filming. You can find the Instagram of AnthropoidEthos by @AnthropoidEthos, art advisor, and also you can find @Jaws for the gallery. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy this episode. Hi, Nika. How's it going?
It's good. All good.
Welcome to AnthropoidEthos. This is our 7th episode. I'm glad it's with you, a good friend. Your full name, Nika, give me your whole Nika name. Nikolossi. Yes. So because you're Georgian, of course.
Yeah.
And your last name is Koplatadze.
Yes.
Is that the right pronunciation?
Kind of. Close.
What's
Close.
the right pronunciation?
Koplatadze.
Koplatadze.
See.
So it's like an accent in the middle.
I mean, it's Georgian language, so it's some letters are kind of very different, has a different vibration compared to other language. Several letters.
Okay.
It's just very difficult to pronounce for not Georgian speakers.
Yeah.
But you did well. I
to me,
think.
it sounds quite fun. It's like a nice phonetics.
Yeah.
But what's the actual root of Georgian? Like, what's the...
I mean, it's this interesting part about Georgian language is that it doesn't have a group. It doesn't belong to any group. It's like unique language.
Oh, so it's only in Georgia?
It's not connected with Slavic, with Latin.
It's not even Hungarian or something?
No. I mean, it has some similarities. For example, some people say that like language, the Basques.
Really?
Yeah. But it's not. It just like has some similarities because this is also like very unique language.
Yeah.
Georgian is unique language, and we have like our letters, like our alphabet is one of the 14. It's the oldest alphabets in the world. So it's like very, 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 very old culture, very old country, and with its own language, with its own alphabet, and like very small also.
So from my understanding, of course, like the Caucasus is just at the forefront of Georgia, or is within Georgia already.
I mean, we are Caucasus.
Yeah.
The people and the location, like upper side where we have border with Russia.
Oof, yeah.
There's like mountains, but yeah, we are in the middle
Armenia
of Caucasus.
as well, no?
Armenia, we have we have a border with Armenia.
Are you good friends with Armenians, or is there a troubling relationship?
No, I mean, a lot of Armenians live in Georgia, in Tbilisi.
Okay.
I'm from Tbilisi, it's a capital. And
Tbilisi.
like historically, it was like very international city. And there's like type of Armenians, and they call themselves like Georgian Armenians because they are so integrated in the culture that they're like Armenians, but they like with the generations was living in Georgia.
Nice. So like, is there like an ethnic distinction like within Georgia? Are there many people from different like ethnicities, or would you say it's a common ethnic group almost like that you have in Georgia? I mean, of course you have like clearly in the border this confrontation with Russia or whatever.
With Russia, it's complicated.
But there's also like
Turkey,
Russian speakers, right, in the north, I guess. Or
there's like
Russians, like
it's like Soviet memories that like some generation knows how to speak Russian, because like back then it was just you needed to speak Russian because it was like the language.
Hmm.
where everything was happening in Russia. But like about your question, that it's like not totally, not every place has like a lot of different cultures, but more like capital. And now like the Tbilisi was like the place where a lot of trade was happening, and Silk Road was going on Tbilisi. So there was like a lot of people from not all over the world, but let's say from close by,
Hmm.
and there's like some some numbers of like not Georgians who like are very integrated.
Okay.
But also it's very touristic now, and we have a lot of tourists from Europe, like just coming and going and having fun and eating and
Nice.
yeah.
The common life.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I guess, I mean, some of the viewers might think, oh, like we spoke about the Caucasus, and there's all this thing about being Caucasian,
Hmm.
and I would say the Georgians and Armenians are the actual Caucasians,
Hmm.
and the rest of people that think they're Caucasian maybe have like a weird myth about it, but it's not really the case that they're Caucasian. You know, there's this whole thing of like
Yeah, there's
the
like
Aryan myth and all this thing in Europe, you know, but Caucasia is basically the area you come from, actually.
mhm. Yeah, I mean it's we're like we call them mountain people, no? Like,
Mountain people.
but
Yeah.
we're higher now, so that's interesting.
Uh,
Then
but you're also next to the Black Sea, no?
we have a Black Sea, and Georgia is very small, but it kind of managed like the Georgia managed to have everything like mountains, and like it's very like from the sea you can drive to high mountain in like 1 hour,
Mm.
and it probably has like different types of. It doesn't have. It has subtropical, but not tropical. So you can like still get some like the vibes from here, like visually, like some palms, some
Ah,
banana
yeah.
trees, but it doesn't grow.
It
And like
doesn't grow.
I mean, it grows like it has like you have like small green bananas, but
Ah, okay.
we have like 4 or 5 months of sun. We have 4 seasons. It's like very strict. Like there's a spring, which is like a lot of rain, and then it's like everything blooms, becomes green. It's very beautiful. Then it's summer. It's very hot.
Yeah, you have the
Then the
actual.
autumn is very colorful, and then winter is very cold. Is
Okay.
this year? It was like crazy because like huge snow came to in Georgia in like west side, and it was like for some people it was very complicated because they couldn't like move and navigate and like do anything because it was like 1 2 meters, almost 2 meters snow.
Okay.
But then like summer comes and it's very hot, not like here, like you have
Yeah.
kind of like
We
a
have a.
little bit chill, like little bit colder and then like little bit hotter,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
And
it's
a bit
not
of
like.
rain in the summer.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think I mean, it's interesting because I do feel like a lot of people that grow up in places, well, actually most countries in the world do have like the four seasons very distinct, you know. And Mexico, clearly we are like the never ending spring,
We're green.
at least Mexico City and maybe Cuernavaca, known
Yeah,
for
Mexico City,
that
because
name.
like in the last weekend I traveled outside from city, like it's Amatitlan, I think it was the name of the place. And when we left the when we went to highway, when we left the city, everything was brown, and like the color of the earth, like just jacarandas,
Hmm.
like kind of shining. But I remember I was going in August there in the same road, and it's just. But then you come back in the city, and the city doesn't change. Like Mexico City is like the green all the time, and it's
Yeah,
very
yeah.
interesting for me
Although
because
jacarandas are
Jacarandas was
spring.
like when you go to like it's a Tepoztlan road, and when you go there, it's a lot of
Yeah,
jacarandas.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
but here the jacarandas are in green, but there it was on like a brownish,
Hmm.
like earth, very very dry
Ah,
visuals.
I see what you mean. So
Uh
they
huh.
are a bit more orange almost, and
Yeah, I mean everything was like not like how I seen before because I was mostly in a city for like this period, and I think that's like interesting fact. Like personally for me, like I do think that environment like affect us at all a lot, like kind of change our how our like chemistry works, you know. And
Sure,
now
yeah.
my eyes are get used to like this cycle of different like seasons. So I remember like from the brown, like gray, like a winter Georgia's, and spring comes and everything becomes green. But you start is like this yellowish, very pure green, and then it becomes greener, and then it's like becomes. So it's like and here I have like I'm in a green, like
Hmm.
I see green, I like. So I feel more like I don't feel like a climate, no, not climate, but I don't feel like very connected here with seasons. But in Georgia, I do like functioning differently. In the winter,
Yeah, yeah,
my
yeah.
lifestyle is different. In the summer, it's different, and pero
Yeah,
here we have like yeah,
it
same.
definitely has this impact in like the way that we maybe relate our personalities with the environment. You know, I do feel like when, for example, in the north of the world, you know, or the northern
Hmm.
hemisphere, I always feel like winter brings you into this introspective vibe, and in the summer you become an extrovert.
Hmm.
But it's a bit odd because I mean, at least to me, who grew up in Mexico City, all the time I was supposed to be sort of chill and
Hmm.
extrovert, and we're a bit more
Okay.
warm and relaxed all the time. But I do feel like possibly
I mean that's
in Georgia you have a different experience.
you know like our like a if we compare for example Georgian like energy like what the people have and to like we're very I mean we're different. We have some similarities, but what I'm saying is because of that I think because of this climate and environment and nature here people are more like warm and it's more open culture,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and it's like you feel like this, you know, like vamos let's do this, vamos let's do this. And in Europe it's like it's not like that, it's just people are not as open. And I do think it has something to do with the climate and with this like it makes you feel, you know, you want to do these things and
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
don't.
It affects the culture. I mean, fully.
Hmm.
Of course, Mexico is a full multicultural
Yeah,
like
that's very
nation that
interesting
also has
fact.
that variety and clearly like an appreciation to life that is different to maybe other standards, you know, or of how things should be or etc. By the way, I just want to clarify that Nika is a remarkable artist. You're making all type of work basically. I see you, of course, painting
Mm-hmm.
quite a lot, but you're also doing some crazy. I would say even sculptural work that is part
Mm-hmm.
of the painting, or it
Mm-hmm.
becomes a painting in a three-dimensional way. However, I don't want to start very fast with um, the way that you interact with your work, and
Mm-hmm.
I want us to go a bit to your earlier life,
Okay.
to your like childhood in Georgia,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to know like how the hell did you end up in art or the art world? Were you inspired by something when you were a kid, or what actually made you like get uh, into this like creative endeavor that you're so in love with
Mm-hmm.
and quite good at, if I might say?
It started like I had the classes I remember like when I was like I don't remember how old I was, but I was young, and I
Like below
remember
10
having like
or
4 years of like just I mean nothing serious, nothing like just going somewhere to a place with teacher and like just painting some boring stuff, you know, in a school. And then there was a gap. I was not practicing it, and then I had the studies, and the studies I decided to like kind of choose fine art and go to the direction. But just there was no like I kind of like went there, you know, like I opened this door and I said I'm going in and I will be here and I will like get serious because that was a place and space when I was working and when I was having results, which was making me like like feel like excited, kind of,
Mm-hmm.
like this is excitement of being in a process. And then like, I mean, I mentioned studies, and I have a bachelor, but I don't feel like connected with this part of like
Mm.
academy,
Yeah.
you know. And I do think that can be interesting for some people, for some artists who wanna go to that direction. But I like when I felt connected, then I was working to disconnect with it. Not because like, this like, oh, you, it's not about like styles of painting, or like I needed to like forget how to paint, or
Mm.
no, just I think academy puts you in a frame, and like it can be interesting frame because like you can go and just, observe and be in a thinking process, but in a frame. So I get free at some point from it. And I had active studio practice while I was going in university and having classes. But then it finished. And then just, like life flows. Like, so I was having some residencies. I was living in, I mean, I was just like going with the life. But we're actively working in my studio in Tbilisi. Before I had a studio in Tbilisi, I was like practicing painting mostly, and then like time to time the this like intuition of flow, like let's say,
Uh,
bring me to Mexico, and now I have studio here,
yeah.
and my work more diverse. It's like lately it's happened that I'm kind of feeling very like comfortable in different mediums, in different practices, and then like the question is like interconnected. I mean, I'm like interconnecting some, as you mentioned, like the sculpture practice, which can be like named like objects, and then like the flow now is to like connect with, make it work together, and like give it to painting,
Mm.
because then it happens in a ways that I do that for painting, and painting is very close to me, and there is some upcoming ideas. I'm like very free to experiment, but like experiment from already like the space where I am in, like in around my, interest, around my materials, like which I'm researching and working on.
Yeah.
So the process was intuitive. I mean, when I was born, I felt that I would be painter. It didn't.
No,
No,
I
it
guess I
didn't.
do want to ask, like, what was there a time, you say that when you were young you started taking some classes,
Mm-hmm.
but I wonder if there's some like activation, like that suddenly it clicked with you, that you were like, oh, this is like just a way. I mean, clearly we are all raised usually with
Mm-hmm.
some type of craft or art, and some keep it and some eliminate it. I've always thought it's quite catastrophic the way that some families deal with kids that are artistic, and sometimes repress the kids that. But I wonder if you had that moment when you were a kid that you remember, or maybe it was a family member of yours that also was like artistic, that sort of inspired you
No, in my
to move
family, I
that.
don't have anyone in arts.
So you're the
I
unicorn of
mean, in
the
paint,
family.
like more in theater, I think, but like
Ah, yeah,
not like very.
plastic,
I was,
like
yeah, I'm
fine
like I
arts.
like theater, but I'm far from it. Like personally, it's not like what I do or what I wanna do.
And who did theater?
Sorry,
Who did theater?
theater, who did theater?
Theater, yeah.
Yeah, but
Who did? What was there someone in your
some
family?
family member who was just like
Ah, okay.
actor maybe.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, I just like trying to remember, but like it's not like I'm coming from artist family.
Okay.
It was my decision, but like it's interesting because lately I started to like remember some moments from my like early childhood,
Uh huh.
And I remember in each summer we was like, so I was living in city in capital, but we would go out from a city for in a summer house, and then in a summer house I would like spend like 2 months in the summer of like going on hikes every day and just being like so close to nature, and like just kind of I started to like it's coming like a flashbacks, and I do think that played a big role now
Mhm.
in my practice because I was collecting peace. I was like so close to nature, to wild nature, not like you know.
So you were finding objects and
I was
collecting
finding
them.
objects. Yeah, I was like I remember some moments when just like discovering of just like going deep in the forest and climbing some small or big mountains, and then like wow, discovering this beautiful like beautiful moment, pure moments of nature, like a kind of ultimate life.
Yeah.
So I do think like that played a big role because now I'm like collecting a lot. I
Yeah,
go
yeah,
out
yeah,
from a
yeah.
city, I bring in my studio some like a life like many things. It's like part of my practice, and I'm a collector of like things which I feel connected with intuition.
But it's a lot of natural, like pine,
Yes, there's like
pines
as
from pine
here like these
trees, and
materials are so different, like all things like not for you but for me,
sure.
and just I find something now. I'm like very 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 inspired by jacarandas,
Yeah.
and I'm collecting jacaranda flowers, but more it's I'm thinking what to do with it. I'm like maybe I'm envisioning making paper, but like some materials are like
Oh,
so
cool.
poetic here, like very like jacaranda is like one poetry for me, just
Yeah.
everything like how it's like with the wind and like then this gray with the purple, and it was not like I just saw it, I felt connected, I said like okay, I would love to do it, and I'm like doing it, but more to come, no? Like I'm just
Sure.
I'm like I travel at some point in Mexico, but I'm like I didn't spend like I have my studio here, and I envision myself like more like going and observing like other states of Mexico. And I think it will bring more,
We're working.
yeah, more work, and like like Mexico has different landscapes, which is like very 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 different for my eyes,
So
for my
going
mind.
back a bit to Georgia,
Mm.
um, so I do find this like small flashback of yours to nature, which clearly affects the way that you're creating your current work, because you are using often like dirt or earth
Mm.
from different regions of the planet, and also like as you say, like you're now inspired in jacarandas,
Hmm.
which by the way do not come from Mexico
Yeah,
specifically.
it's from Japan, as I don't know.
I don't think so. I think it's like Brazilian, and a
Okay.
Japanese architect or landscapist decided to use them in Brazil, but there's you can find them also all over Latin America, and also in, I mean, I've been in Lisbon and in Portugal, you find them as well, but it's because it was a gift. But in
Hmm.
Japan, you also find them.
Okay.
So for sure, it was like these countries that had a link with this Japanese sort of landscapist, and then it just went through all Latin America basically. But so yeah, okay. Bring me back to Georgia. I want to understand also like what is it, of course, to live in a country that is sort of in a between moment. Not sure moment, well, moment in history where Georgia is understood as a place that is like Eurasian, basically. So it's
Hmm.
like, you have neighboring countries that are the stand countries, no?
Hmm.
Like after you, basically.
Yeah, we are. I think like we are having one of most complicated locations in the world.
Yeah, it's complex for
Because
sure.
we're in the middle of like just very like there's like the Russia, and there's
Yeah.
this, and like people are very European, like culturally now the new generation, and they put themselves, and I say I more I see more like Georgia part of this world and two parts of this world. And but historically, it was like having a lot of like problems for the location because there was like a lot of empires and we was all the time in a conflict with these empires
Mm.
because you know what empires do.
Yeah,
You know?
conquer.
Yeah.
Or
So
invade the neighbors, basically.
uh-huh.
But so, I mean, there's this very famous monumental, uh, well, memorial in Tbilisi, or in the
Mhm.
outskirts of Tbilisi. No? I'm saying
Which
Tbilisi wrong.
no Tbilisi. I mean, you're doing well.
Yeah.
It's did I don't know which one you're mentioning.
The Chronicles, the
Okay, like
Chronicle of Georgia.
big swords. Ah, like a sculpture,
Yeah, the
kind of like a.
sculptures, the
It
columns.
looks like Stonehenge visually, like huge stones.
Yes, gigantic stones
I mean,
telling
it's
the
yeah,
story.
it's one. It's a sculpture. I mean, it's very interesting. I mean, it's very like there's like a lot of scenes, historical scenes, some kings, and but I'm not big fan of it. Like,
No?
I'm not big fan of the guy who did it.
Who did it?
Surab Tsereteli, I think maybe.
Sudat Tariteli?
Yeah, he's Georgian, but he's living. He's Russian, kind of.
Ah,
He's coming from
so
that
there's this trouble
from
with
Moscow. Mhm.
the northern neighbor.
Yeah, but like in Georgia, it's like these countries, post-Soviet countries, has like like we have, for example, we have one interesting city which is abandoned. It's called Skaldubo, and you are in Tarkovsky movie
Love
because there's
Tarkovsky.
like
We're big
it was
fans
like
here,
a
probably.
resort and people was getting some like there's a lot of mm, like water, mineral waters, and but like Soviet memory is a ruins visually. Like you go and you see like just this infrastructure which is like dead, you know, and you see like this city in particular, it's like very concentrated because no one lives there. I mean, very like small amount of people, and then you have like these huge mansions, huge houses, more like big hotels, let's say,
Hmm.
and like just with a forest, like from windows, there's a trees coming out, and it's just like abandoned, you know,
Yeah.
like the
Wait, just a question. Like the Chronicle of Georgia, this monument tells also the story of Crusades, no?
sorry, Chris,
Crusades, the
the
Crusades versus
ah yeah, no, I don't know actually.
no.
It's more
Oh.
like historical. Maybe it does, and I don't remember. I
Okay.
don't remember that part. But it's like very historical.
Yeah.
There's like
When was
some
this built?
scenes. It was built in 20th century, in a middle, I think, in a second part of 20th century, kind of.
Okay, so it's
Yeah,
quite
it's
new.
not.
I
Yeah,
thought it
it's
was
not.
a sort of old monument
No, no.
that people. But
The
it's a
old
full
monuments.
Soviet.
Yeah, all monuments in Georgia are like churches, and it's all over the like country, and it's like like huge number.
And
Like
what's the
there's a
type
lot
of
of
church? Is it a
churches. Is like
Christian?
we have our like it's Orthodox Church in Georgia,
But it's a
and the
Georgian
architecture is
Orthodox.
also like kind of connected with this, and it's like unique architecture, like visually compared to like the practice of churches from here or from Catholic Church. But like Catholic, like here, it's I really feel like how they make it here, like very inspiring for me. Like some materials which they use, but like energetically, visually, it's so different. Like
Yeah.
like it doesn't have anything same with the painting
Right.
of
Right. Right.
walls, and it is very like Georgia. That's like the wall painting and like the frescoes is like so different compared to like other traditions, other countries' traditions to have it. And like in Georgia, there's also like very different. For example, like the frescoes from Swaneti, it's one place in it's high mountains and like very there's like very interesting frescoes. One of my favorites, like frescoes from Swaneti. It's like
Swanet.
visually, it's like okay, what's that? Like you don't feel like this is one and this is one. It's like kind of
Hmm.
very distanced from each other.
Well, with the, I mean, I think it's interesting to maybe disclose some of the historical context of Georgia, if you don't mind, or if you are like really aware of it.
Hmm.
So what's Georgia like before the Soviet expansion to Georgia, or like
Mm.
what is actually happening in the country? Is it just like a very like European type of country? Is it? I mean, clearly the Christian Orthodox tradition, which is
Well,
sort of the
at
inheritor
fourth
of the
century after Christ,
right, yeah,
we
and
was
it's
one of, yeah, like it's,
yeah,
and then I mean, like just Georgia, it's like colorful. Like the thing is, it's small, though it's colorful because we have like different states, and from the people from these different states are like, they're like Georgians. They're like having similar things, but like each region has its own like cuisine, different tastes, like different materials. Like more like some is more concentrated on the meat, some more concentrated on like veggies and like kind of green food, and like wines. There are like different wines from all over the region. I mean, they what I like how I will say, I will like say more practic, like not talk about facts. It's like very colorful country. Like
but before the Soviet.
before, like Soviet did that. Soviet had a concept of Soviet person, which is, I don't want to talk a lot about it because I
Mm,
think it's evil
mm.
directly, and because I'm like, I was not born in Soviet Union, but like my family,
Experience the
yeah, I've experienced,
regimes
and
of
I mean, I never was friend with a Soviet person, but I met some, like the kind of like, and it was one concept, like everyone is the same, no,
Mhm.
and that's so that was a complicated period, I think, for all these countries which was in, but like Georgia and Georgians, we're like we're playful, we are like diverse, not like as diverse as in Mexico because still we was Georgians, and here you have like the Purepechas and then Aztecs and then Mayans, which is what's that, it's a
Yeah, and many
completely
like
different
64
people, yeah,
different ones.
completely, yeah, and more like it's, I just said this three, but
Mm.
it was, I mean, the Tbilisi city had this like in region very like kind of hub for like a lot of movements was happening there, like art was happening, and like there was like the connection to Europe and to France, and to not just to France up there we had with Tbilisi, is like there is some Tbilisian architecture, there is some German architecture, some Polish, some like it's like you had this open bridge, like connected with the things happening there, and then it just stopped to be like that because these people was killed.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I guess a lot of people romanticize that. Well, I mean, I guess the Soviet Union at the time, or I have met different people, for example, from also Donetsk,
Mm.
Donetsk, right,
Hmm.
in
From
Russia
Ukraine.
and so on, in Ukraine, and
Hmm.
like this division, and even they were born in the Soviet Union, and they don't recognize themselves as either Russian or Ukrainian.
Hmm.
So I find that interesting that just that distinction exists. In the case of Georgia, I mean, just to give some context, because I know, like, of course, you said your boundary, of course, if you don't want
Hmm.
to discuss it much, but I would like the audience to understand
Hmm.
that, well, like Stalin, who had a very Georgian name, actually, no,
Oh, he was Georgian.
exactly.
We're not
But
proud.
what's his actual name?
Jurashvili, I think. Yosef
Yugashvili.
Jurashvili.
Yeah. So it's like completely different to what people actually
No,
think
he
of.
was born in Georgia, and then he like became who he became, but he did a lot of bad things for
No,
Georgia.
no. I mean, I
You know.
agree with you. I just think it's interesting that he sort of changed his name
Hmm.
as well with the Soviet,
Hmm.
like shift, and it's curious, of course, that there's a void for the current Georgian, like you, like population that perhaps is younger and never lived in this world, um, but there's an identity void with both the architecture in a way, because as you say, these are abandoned buildings, clearly a brutalist
Hmm.
sort of futurist style that is in the middle of the mountains or woods or forests, etc. And it's just empty brutalist buildings, which make, of course, Georgia a very like sublime place to visit. But it's full of, you know, like the Germans say, Geist. No, it's like it's both spirit and ghost. You know, there's something of that context that was left behind, and I guess like, well, I mean, it's interesting for me to look at like the current world of Georgia and this complex battle with its own identity, I guess,
Yeah.
and just like clearly identifying, if I'm not mistaken, the majority identifies more as European than Russian, but of course there's all this lobbying around.
Yeah, government is very pro-Russian now.
Yeah,
We are having like big problem with it, and it's ongoing like 100 days of protest, I think,
wow.
in the streets and people. Yeah, it's complicated a lot
Yeah,
and sad, but I mean it's a memory, you know. Still, these people coming from that background are in the power.
yeah,
Like maybe I mean not my generation, but like this there is the Soviet Union is still alive, but in these people, in like in some
in their minds.
yeah, and like their visions and how they act with people, you know, like they who we're not interested who, what you want, we're interested what we want, and then they are doing what they want without asking or without just you know give give people power because people is the power.
Yeah.
Not but like yeah, it's very complicated political situation in the world, I think now.
No, yeah, I mean, right now we're
Politics
seeing a
are
lot of
yeah.
shifts and radical shifts towards extreme versions of, well, I guess just regimes that want to establish themselves in again, in a tyrannical way. I do feel like we've been having a peaceful, at least some regions of the planet have had a continuously peaceful time. Of course, with inner struggles and inner battles. Like, I mean, in Mexico, of course,
But
we have.
here it's very stable. Like I no, I
It
mean
depends where. I mean, of course, we have our own militias
yeah,
and madness, you know, with
and there
narcos and etc. You know, like the government corruption, the U.S. I mean, it's always a complicated situation. Um, So, but I mean, I get it that in the case of Georgia, of course, Russia being such a gigantic country, that it feels like, well, it's like such a the bully a bit, no, and but um, but yeah, we can move a bit to like what's clearly Georgia has this brutalist sort of influence in the architecture. Do you appreciate that, or do you is that not an art that you actually
no, I
like
mean
because of the
I do
context?
like
Or
it. I do like it. I don't like, for example, like there is like parts in the city where the it was built for a working class, and it looks like it's like Soviet, not just brutalist can be nice, can be beautiful. There's several buildings which like is, you know, you look at it and it's like wow, I love it. But then there's
yeah,
just boxes, and people like low ceiling and like every. I mean, like kind of. I think it was also tool for like making this people's thinking process as like low vibration as it possible, and like in all countries there is like this architecture. Actually, I was born in one of them. Like in Tbilisi, there is like one not in the center having different architectures, and there's like neighborhoods outside of city, not outside of city. It's like it's a city. It's, compared to Mexico City, just like it's very small. But then you see like these boxes, no, and then you see like from my perspective now of living in Santa Maria or like in Coyacan. I lived in two places, and visually how it feels here to being in this architecture. Though there is also, I think, some architecture here which is connected with the concept of like make ceiling as low as possible to like make 3 floors and not two.
Sure.
And it's like very familiar with this form. I mean, it's like we're very same to this architecture which I'm talking about. But it's very different because you here it's like casas bonitas, like beautiful
Sure,
houses
sure.
with like the thinking of let's make it beautiful. And there it was not like, but say in the center, like there is like um, there's a one part, the Marjanishvili, like Ahmashenebeli, like one street, and there is house there you see like some German influence because there was like German architects living and they built and constructed it, and the aesthetics and the old Georgia, old Tbilisian architecture is also like there is a river.
Old
Oh,
Felician?
Tbilisian,
Tbilisi. Ah,
Tbilisian.
sorry.
There's like the river coming in Kovari, and then it's like it's very interesting. It's different. It's beautiful, but like it's not that the city is like that. It's like a very small part, and then there's like this period when they was building this type of houses, and there's period when they was building these boxes, and now the city is having the problem of like a lot of cities kind of like the buildings, you know. Oh, I'm a business guy, I'm real estate, I'm in a real estate, I have friends in there or there, and they just build whatever they want to build
Hmm.
without like, you know, just having
Cons-
concept
right.
of like the city. And the city became like concrete jungle, and like it's green at some point, but like this it's becoming problem because some group of people just build what they want because
Right.
they're associated with group of people who has a power to who are in charge of like, you know,
Right.
giving this, or like, okay, you build that and you give me that. And
Yeah, the power
so
of real estate.
now it's like very chaotic architecture, like, but I'm saying what direction it has.
Okay. But
Yeah.
it's interesting to see that, I mean, much like, I mean, Mexico City is a city that is folded on itself many times with different contexts. And of course, the architecture shows it. Like, we have, I mean, still some Mexica ruins going on in the
Mm.
city, but also pyramids that are like uncovered every day and within the city. It's not, you don't even have to go out, no? Or I mean, of course, we have like the southern part of the city, which is like Xochimilco with
Mm.
all these Coyoacán, sort of like Cortes Hacienda,
Yeah.
and like more like Spanish but colorful, and but colonial from the, not really, we call it colonial, but it's like vice kingdom like buildings really, and then we have like for sure like a brutalist vibe, like I mean, there's many governmental buildings that were created because of course, the admiration to the Soviets that the country had back in the
Mm-hmm.
40s and 50s and 30s and so on. And then, of course, just like the modern invention of these new buildings that are, I mean, I think that Mexico does have like this new architecture, which is like new
Mm-hmm.
brutalism almost, like with a bit more green and, you know, like tons of concrete as well, but a bit more green and a bit more chic. You know, like there's a hip thing. But I guess in Georgia you also have that variety, of course, maybe in a different dimension with the pre-Soviet, Soviet, and post-Soviet
Yeah.
like architecture. You know.
Yeah, we have like there's, I mean, this part of like the old PLC, you see like this houses. It's very like how to explain. It's just like very interestingly designed, like with the balcony, and there's a river going, and there's like one old part of the city. It's like very traditional, but this tradition is like Georgian. It's kind of Tbilisian architecture, and but it's, I mean, it's colorful, but it's not as colorful as here.
Yeah, yeah. But
It's
you
like
know, it's that
here you
it's
have
tough to
like,
compare every
yeah.
anytime with
No, I
anything.
mean
You
it's
know.
like it's just to compare it. Like I think it's impossible. I mean it's possible, of course, but like just
Yeah,
when
different
you're talking
contexts.
the city, we are like 1,200,000, 1,200,000 people live, and here like
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
millions.
22 or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, 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 yeah. Uncomparable.
So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Of course, we're like whole countries in one city, basically.
Yeah, and like in the world there's like 3.5 million Georgians, like 4 million,
Oh wow,
and like from this 4 million, like 500,000
live
lives
outside.
outside abroad. They're
So
like
you're
in,
that unicorn, basically, living
yeah, I'm
abroad.
becoming one. Oh, I'm like becoming one. No, I like this part of my decision to like move to Mexico. I think was very like a good decision. One of like right decisions which I made because I'm discovering myself. Not just like in that way, like I'm discovering myself. Just environment here is like very very warm, and it's like mystery. Like Mexico has this like a glimpse of mystery for me.
And for everyone, I feel,
Yeah,
even as a local,
and
you keep discovering the layers and keep seeing things that are
I think it's
amazing
like
us.
one
You
of
know.
most like a complex lens of in the world.
Yeah.
Like because it's like the history of it and the how these people was coexisting together on this land and the mystery of Americas and then this like colonialismo and then how yeah it's just like it's it's like it's not one thing, it's like
Yeah.
many
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
coexisting together. And for example, most interesting, I mean, like let's mention like Purepecha like culture.
Hmm.
And it's like for me, I saw like less lately like they were tense and their masks and uniforms when like so they do like something like the sound from dance, but it's like more close for me visually and energetically with Japan
Yeah.
than to Aztecs, for example,
Okay.
or to Mexico in
Purépechas, yeah.
Purepechas,
Which
their
are in
land,
Michoacán
Michoacan.
mainly, and
Yeah.
different areas around
So
that
the
part of the
fact that
Pacific.
like how it
Yeah.
managed to like be so diverse and be so different from each other and have so different like vibration in the language,
Mm.
you know.
I
Uh,
feel it's
okay,
because
stop.
um, the mountainous regions divided. I feel like a lot of people, and of course we have like a really crazy environment. So
Mm,
of course from like absolute jungle in the south, but then even in the south you have like the mountain range, the Sierra Madre Occidental, Oriental. You know, all these things that separate. I feel like people from each other, and then the ethnic groups. But also on like that, I guess like the history of the people that still are alive today, of course, in most of Mexico. But talking about the ancient migrations, I mean, it's very clear that it's not just one migration. No, so there's been like
different one.
plenty migrations that, like for example, I know that the Apache and the Nahua, like the
Hmm.
Mexicas, come from the same ethno-linguistic roots, and so they are from a different migration for sure than, let's say, the Olmecs or the
Okay.
Mayans or the Tehuacanos that are sort of inheritors of that world. Or, I mean, clearly, yeah, we can name just hundreds of
Yeah.
different ethnic groups here, right? But even I find it curious. I've spoken with a few Mayan communities in Chiapas and Campeche, and even in Guatemala, and even there the slang or the differences amongst the people is quite clear. Like even within those groups, there's subdivisions, you know. So,
Interesting.
but the landscape has created that, I guess, distinction amongst everyone. But in the case of Georgia, I also feel, I mean, clearly because of where it's uh, based and
Hmm.
located, for sure it has had, of course, a complex history. Like,
Hmm.
from my understanding, the first like horse riders
Hmm.
were from that region.
We have that culture at some point, but like the Georgian, the like history is like having wars and trying to protect the land
Hmm.
and having wars siempre.
So it's like the
Yeah,
forever war in
different
that
years.
region.
Like there was different empire, like coming and conquering, and then but like I'm proud of it that like we speak our language, we have our own alphabet, and we are like the Georgians,
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
in this like and the empires, which not just like big empires, and now we are having one actually, which we I think it's like the history continues, but like we're strong people. At some point, we managed to like keep it alive.
Mm.
No, I wonder a lot actually, what would Mexico would like without colonialism? Like
Mm.
what's modern cities of Aztecs or Teotihuacan, or what's like how it would progress itself, you know?
Yeah, it's a
It's
great
very
question.
like a like a wonder. I would love to actually
Yeah, it would
go
be
in
a
a
nice,
modern Mayan city, like
nice
a
science fiction.
contemporary Mayan guys, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
just get
I
that.
mean, yeah, it's kind of difficult to. I mean, it's clearly a nice contemplation about like what could have been, but I'm always a bit careful because, of course, it's always good to think as if. But maybe, I mean, clearly the Mayans do live in today's contemporary world,
Yeah,
do
yeah,
use
they
cell
do,
phones
but
and
like
stuff. But of course, I'm curious. What if they had been left to their own curse of
mhm.
history without I mean, I really doubt that the European invasions wouldn't have happened. I completely feel that if it were not the Spanish, there would have been
Yeah, like
another.
how you can stop
Uh,
colonialism, no?
right,
Like,
right. Yeah, I mean, definitely it happened everywhere. So I wouldn't say it's a hypothesis. And because of the different technologies and the viruses, I mean, clearly
yeah,
they
viruses was a thing which
of
like
course,
the
like
same did.
Salmonella destroyed basically all the Americas. When the all the Iberians arrived. But I mean, clearly that creates different worldviews as well, because of course we are different to the British or American mindset. We have this like Hispano-American mindset often, and it's a bit more mixed. But I guess Georgia. I mean, you said you're friendly with the Armenians, and
Because
maybe
Georgia is very friendly to everyone.
okay.
Actually, it's like very I mean, like you go in Georgia and like you can just like get so like warm and love from people.
Hmm.
And it's like so naturally nice, kind of to like you're my guest and I will like let's have a party as hard as we can.
Yeah. And what about? I mean, I'm changing a bit of topic, but I'm always fascinated that wine
Mm-hmm.
is basically an invention from the
Yeah.
region as well. I mean, clearly between
No, it's from
several
Georgia.
countries, yeah.
No, it's from Georgia officially.
But Armenians would say also the same,
No,
or
Armenia says that all the time, but
okay.
it's officially from Georgia. I mean, there were
I
like
guess you share a lot. But...
yeah, there lately was discovered. They discovered the quevri. Quevri is a clay. It was traditional way of making wine, like a
uh-huh.
clay pot,
Yeah,
but big one underground.
underground.
And this was like the way. I mean, this is unique way from Georgia to make wine. And so they discovered these quevris, this like pots dating like 8,000 years.
Oh
It
wow.
so like with leftovers of wine, and that was like this thing which gave world this fact that Georgia gave wine to
Give
world.
birth. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like this specific wine is different. Like it's unique. Like it has a like a taste. Taste is very nice, and it's
So
like rare. It's
okay.
rare in a way because like for example if we are like compare like though Georgia is like mother of wine, still like with production it's very far from like Spain or from
Yeah, yeah,
France
yeah,
or
yeah, yeah.
from Italy.
They
Yeah,
fell
it's
in
like
love with wine, but it's a later event for
mhm.
them. Yeah, it's quite interesting. But I wonder. I mean, usually what I understand is that Dionysus, for example, in the Greek mythology, is like the god of wine, basically, and intoxication. Is there like a figure that you can think of in the Georgian tradition that is similar? It's
Mm.
like a god of intoxication of a kind, or do you think? Because I do remember from trying to
Mm.
doing some
Mm-hmm.
research on Georgia that also like the I think it's the Odyssey. In the
Odyssey, yeah,
Odyssey,
yeah.
um, Odysseus like literally travels to Georgia as well and discovers this really fancy civilization, which was also linked with like wine, of
Mm-hmm.
course, but also the production of gold. And
Yeah,
there's like a
Golgeti Valley. It's like
Golgeti
Valley,
Valley.
Golgeti Valley. It
Cool
was
name.
like kind of old civilization.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
it's other part. It's West Georgia, and yeah, there's like some myth, and it's like lost.
Yeah.
There's this Georgian thing, like for example, if I can like openly talk about Quetzalcoatl, no, like because Quetzalcoatl is still here, like, and in Georgia, because of Christianity entered, like it was before paganism. There was different gods, god of seas, god of seas, god of, but probably there was god of wine.
Yeah.
Like wine in Georgian case, it's like the tool. I think it was like tool. It was like heavenly drink.
Yeah.
I mean, let's go to that part. But what I'm saying, because of that, as Christianity entered at 4th century after Christ, I think there was like so much lost,
Hmm.
because you know how church operates, no? Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
destroy that,
Yeah.
burn it,
Yeah.
give
Yeah.
people no, this is right, this is right, this is not right.
Yeah.
So that memory is lost, and you can like, I mean, you can research. There's like some authors who worked on that, and you can still get some information, but it's more in books. It's not alive.
Mm.
And it's like the same with it's like just became like a myth. It's became, but the wine is coming from. This is my observation on that topic is, we have tradition of supra, and supra we have tradition of for example, supra is if I invite you in a dinner or in a lunch or whatever, like we will have a table with the wine, and the men, everyone will drink, and we will have a guy who will be like a chief of supra. But if it, like this tradition was going through like different periods, and was like transforming itself and becoming, I mean, it's very like but originally I think it was something look like the shamans was like sitting on a table and talking, and like kind of like putting that out like with vibration of words, no, like words is strong tool to, and then drinking the wine. But the kind of having relationship with the wine like alchemical drink, like more, I think it had more spiritual, the not only fiesta, no, now it's fiesta, now it's like one party, you sit, you drink, and you talk. Each time you say toast, you need to talk, you need to say for like for good health or for love, or kind of like talking, asking, not just like saying what you want or what you wish for your friends. But before it was more like ritual, I think. But that is lost.
But it's
It's not alive. It's
but it's
just like
curious that, I mean, even though it might be lost, there's something of the ritual that remains. I mean, usually,
but transformed ritual. Like it
right?
became like a
Sure, sure.
modern rituals. No?
Like syncretic, we would use that word to
But I
speak
would love
about
to
those
like, for
things.
example, like really like see how what it would look like. No, because I mentioned Swanety, and Swanety is a high mountains. It's one of like in Europe, I think it's highest populated place. It's like 4,000.
Oh, wow.
It's like very high. And it's like amazing. It's a different, visually, it's different mountains. It's a lot of rocks, and very like a needle kind of,
Oh, okay.
yeah, but different ones as well. And in this place, it was the place where the Christianity entered, like the church entered like last, because the people was protecting it. And there you still can like touch these old traditions and old like before paganism, like this before Christianity, what was
Yeah,
happening.
polytheism.
Yeah, and there is like there's some gods, there's like some the aspects of like which we don't understand now, but like some house was designed with the towers in the society, and the tower was having like practical. It was like with from this tower, the Holy Spirit, which is not like from Christianity, which is from there. It's not like
Okay.
was entering your place. So like there, like in a lifestyle for people and in everyday life, there was a lot of like rituals, which
Okay.
is lost now. It's just you go, you go with the rules of Orthodox Church.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
And
clearly,
country is very very Orthodox. Like
right.
people are very religious, and they go with the church.
Yeah, I mean, what is pretty crazy is also, I guess, just the whole Orthodox Christianity that is basically taking that whole discussion debate on like East Rome, no,
Is what?
east of Rome,
Okay.
like the ancient Rome, and how it just split between East and West, and the West basically became this very different, like amalgam of traditions and cultures, and I mean clearly the Catholic Church, and then of course like
Mm.
years later, like the Protestant or Lutheran, Calvinist, etc. All these things. But the Christian Orthodox Church, I mean, it was interesting to see like its distinction, and somehow the fact that the Byzantine Empire was also probably in Georgia, was it?
It has some influence here at
Oh
some
yeah,
point. At some point.
yeah.
I mean, the land is, it's very interesting land, I think, the region itself. And then you have there, like, I'm more in context of history and, like, of civilizations. Like,
Hmm.
one of the first civilizations are from this close by, like, first people. And, like, Iran, there you have the Iran, there you have this Turkey. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's like
Of
from
course.
where, like, there was, like, one of all the civilizations happening, And,
Yeah, I guess
you
it's a
know,
cool
I mean,
context. I
very,
mean,
very like a very like like one mysterious land, like
hmm,
very old one, and this like Armenia. We talked. It's also very ancient country,
yeah,
and like Iran is very ancient, and it was like, and it's like so diverse. No, like there's Islam, and there's like Christianity, there's like there's so very like, but how it transformed itself to what we have now, it's like, yeah, it's it's fascinating at some point,
hmm.
and how it will transform more, because we only talk about past, no, we don't talk about future.
Well, let's. I mean,
Yeah,
what do you think will happen with Georgia?
no, I think like world will change soon, and like humans will kind of, I mean, I think with some our like breakthroughs with technology and stuff, like the progress is like so fast now, it's like, and we just cannot imagine how fast it is.
Hmm.
Like in my life, so many things just appeared, and
Yeah, I mean
I
the
never
whole.
thought that it would appear, no,
Yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
but they appeared, and
yeah.
so they appeared, and it's becoming more fast and fast and fast with AI, and just AI, just, and so like I think the future is one there at some point, because it's like it's more fast than we think. It's like not about the movie or sci-fi movies, no, it's like,
Although there's some good sci-fi's that reference this sort of moment in time. Like I just saw Mickey 17.
okay, I'm not
Uh,
familiar, but
yeah,
like,
by the same guy that did Parasite. I forgot the name of. It's
okay,
a
okay, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Korean
yeah.
guy, and it's Bo Hong Yu.
Yeah.
Yo, Bo Hong Yo.
Wonjunyo. Get that.
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, what a incredible director. He's able to show in this film basically like, of course, mocking, because he's definitely mocking the current state of events. I'm not gonna name what's happening, but um, and makes us wonder about different moral dilemmas on, for example, like in the movie you have cloning um, of an expendable, which is basically Pattinson, who is this guy they used to work in space that can receive the worst radiation or uh, die out of, I don't know, X, Y, and Z, and then he can just be cloned again. But he is like the director is able to show this really interesting paradigm of how the future with different with our different futurisms that we hold, how that can shift or become like a world with new problems and new, things to discuss. And of course, like cloning has been forbidden in humans. I mean, it's been attempted with different animals,
But they
etc.
already did with animals long ago,
Yeah,
no?
yeah. With
Like
animals, no
yeah,
one gave a fuck.
you can like make conejos.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Or mice, of
Uh
course.
huh.
Like,
Yeah, like.
but with humans, it's forbidden since like the Second World War. No, because the Nazis were experimenting with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I'm pretty aware that in China they don't care too much about those rules. But
Yeah.
it's interesting because I feel like with the clear different like versions of what the future should look like. I'm not saying like will look like, it
Mm-hmm.
should, because politics is intervening the future. It's like what that fantasy of the future
Mm-hmm.
holds. It will have a massive impact in the way
Yeah,
we
but
live
like
the world. No?
also when we talk about that, we you mentioned the movie, no? Like so in our heads there is some like a future images, but like from movies, from books, like this
Yeah,
about this topic, about this
yeah,
like sci-fi
yeah,
world,
yeah,
like
yeah.
futuristic, and I think it kind of gives us some like frames in it because like okay, like the apocalyptic future, no, where they like AI or like the robots will like kill us and then we will like try to survive. But I don't think like I do think it's like I just think like as a people will change, like our
Mm.
we will like just
Yeah, the
kind of
anthropology.
yeah, like we will like the chemistry change in our body, we will start to think differently, we will like discover some parts in our bodies which can be like
Yeah, like some mutation.
yeah, I think like now we're going through like that's very like I remember like 10 years ago like the conversation about like spiritualism or like now it's so like popular, now people started to like
Yeah,
for yeah,
spiritualism.
for people it's like now every day, like it's what it is. Before it was not, it was like more for some people it was connected to like like dark magic, like you talk
Yeah, yeah,
about
yeah, yeah, yeah,
esotericism
yeah, yeah.
or you talk about occultism or you talk about like how the humanity was like living in back days,
Yeah.
but now it's like this like healers and these guys. And I mean, there's a lot of like first fake spirituality which I see now, but I do see that like people started to accept it and people started to be interested in it, and in this like short period of time.
Yeah.
So I think like we go to that direction, and we go to the direction, and that will change the concept of like
Yeah,
concept of
well-being and
yeah the
what
concept of
is.
things,
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
then
Good and evil.
yeah, I like believe in good futures, so maybe people will understand that we can coexist with this land,
Mm.
with the motherland, and be and then like concepts will change, like there will be different concepts of politics, of
Yeah.
like everything. But when and how it will happen, we will see. We will see. But I do think in my life I will interact with a lot of like things, like a lot of changes which I was not expecting.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
You
We
know.
all will, and I mean, we think about it sometimes in these really sci-fi ways, like
Mm-hmm.
maybe we mutate, but maybe it's just more bureaucracy because we fucking love bureaucracy,
Mm-hmm.
not democracy for sure. But it's interesting to live in the Kafkian paradigms all the
Mm-hmm.
time, of like different cultures have different bureaucracies, and
Mm-hmm.
that affects also the way that we see the world. If it's instant, for example, no, like now that we will have quantum computers,
Mm-hmm.
where things that take already a incredible machine we have, like a computer or
Mm-hmm.
an iPad or whatever, like
And it
seconds
happens
to,
so fast, no?
yeah, and
Like
now
it
it's like,
just
well, you can actually solve these issues. And I mean, I guess the thing, it will accelerate most likely the way that we live, and I guess I don't like the word develop, but the way that we process different technologies. I wanted to mention another film which
mm-hmm.
makes me think of what you said, that maybe we have different organs, because David Cronenberg um, made this last film, I think, called Crimes of the Future.
Crimes of Future is the
Yeah,
name of it. Okay,
and
I
that
need to
and
check
there
it.
he's basically giving us this image of like humans that are which might be interesting for you, I mean, in the art world, that develop different organs to absorb plastic, which is not like so far-fetched from like what we might be. We already have like so many microplastics in our body, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And then he made this movie sort of about like art, performance art, and like basically that the new voyeurism of like the art world is basically people in surgeries opening up bodies to search for these like mutated organs that are constantly happening, and it's like this
Mm-hmm.
new paradigm about it.
Okay,
But it's,
interesting.
yeah, it's kind of cool. um but let's move maybe to, I mean, to your work. I mean, I wanted to ask, you often are, of course, as we mentioned, like different um, earths, minerals, etc., leaves, pine
Mm-hmm.
pines from pine trees. You use so many different like natural resources to create your work. um, but you're also always, from what I've understood of your career as
Mm-hmm.
an artist, you're always linking the roots of trees and
Mm-hmm.
different bodies of water with constellations and the
Mm-hmm.
cosmos.
There's elements in my work, like there's the water. I mean, in this body of work which I'm working now, it started in Mexico, and Mexico, the landscapes, like the life,
Yeah, but take us from
like there.
maybe like your previous work to now. What's
I mean, previous work in a painting, it was more abstract. There was no subject. There
okay?
was no. I had some subject for a while, then I stopped to have subject. And it says this previous work is previous work. No, it's archived in my studio in Georgia, and I'm like not connecting with now. I mean, they're just in a storage.
But what were they like?
There was like the paintings,
Paintings of
paintings of.
just.
No, I mean the connection was like at some point. I remember like I was discovered, not discovered, but I fell in love a lot with Cy Twombly,
Ah, yeah, sure,
with the
cool.
painter, and the way how he put this poetry with this touch, and with this act of like just doing something and doing it repetitively, but like then connect with this. I was just inspired by his touch, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
mostly. I mean, I loved his work.
yeah.
It's that now I disconnected with it.
Ah,
So then by that I started to, and I was like, at some point, I liked American Expressionism, and these people who was like, just it's very spiritual, like this. All is about like the subconscious, and
mm,
then in a canvas you like just
yeah,
in canvas you like explain puzzle or explain. So yeah, then I was doing this body of work for like I think 1 year, 2 years,
mm,
and I was painting in oils, and then there was the painting was also about the painting and the palette and the colors, and then conceptually it was more like connected with this practice of Twombly of like just
mm,
writing, but like not just writing and being in a flow and like kind of no not have I image or not have subject, but like in this emptiness
mm.
find with emptiness like create like the matter, no,
Which I
which is
think he
still
was
empty. It's
he
like
was really inspired by like Roman caves where he found like
yeah, 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 yeah.
graffiti.
He
No,
says
like the
it,
first
and
graffiti in the
poetry.
world. I think it was Roman.
But now I feel disconnected. Then time changed, and then I
Yeah,
was like doing sculptures, and like I was very like connected with the cosmology, and I was reading some, not reading, more like yeah, I was reading about it, but it's like very scientific. No, it's like the
mm,
cosmology itself. It's like light years and these and these, but not like for me how I was receiving it was not like a scientific point. It was more for me like I think poetry is like something which we have, which we can use, and which can make life more emotional. Kind of, we
Hmm.
can create states with the poetry of it, you know. And then for me, I was like, you know, like reading about like the light year or something, and the light travels, and wow,
Yeah, but I mean,
you know. And
science is sometimes poetry fully.
my job is not to put it for like a scientific. I'm
Right, of
like, you
course, of
know,
course.
my
You have to depict it
yeah, yeah,
somehow.
I can like penetrate this part and then like catch things and connect things and give. So like there was like the I'm from microcosm, like then with this site Wombly influence, just practice was like uh I was having the very free practice in the painting, and then I like was discovering, you know, without like kind of plan to do this, you know. Okay, I will now. I now I work with more like I'm plan now. Before it was like more emptiness and being emptiness and coming out from emptiness, and then from that,
But what is emptiness to you?
emptiness is emptiness. Emptiness is just like the space where you can like like how emptiness is like is everything, but it's nothing. It's like vice versa. Like emptiness is the place where is everything,
Hmm.
where is we, but then there is like nothing as well.
Hmm.
And just this is a poetry also, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it's tough to
the
place this notion. I mean, I've in the podcast itself, I think we've done several episodes where we mention nothingness and emptiness and the void and all these things. And to me, it's always interesting to see what is imagined with this notion.
I mean, I cannot talk scientifically. I mean, it's like
No,
black
it's
hole is
just
nothingness, no? For
speak
example, and why
in.
black hole is nothingness? Because there is no light.
Uh,
No? So I think
maybe
light
that's.
is a thing which makes things work, you know. I
Mm,
mean, I was thinking about it. Like, does light create matter? Because if there is no light, there is no source of light. Where what happens with the matter? Like, what happens with the if like there will be darkness now? If we like shut down the sun and stars and these light bulbs and
I
will
think there would
disappear.
still be gravity
Yeah, there
from
will be
my.
something, but
There's a
like
man.
what?
Yeah.
Like, does light makes it alive? So nothingness
Hmm.
is.
Well, yeah, it's curious. If we cannot observe it, perhaps that's the
Mm,
notion of like nothingness that we
mhm,
could use in a poetic term.
mhm,
Although for sure we would have to wonder if we can do that. Because I'm sure that with different versions of light, like ultraviolet light,
mhm.
or I don't know, I'm sure I'm missing out so many different types of light that exist.
Yeah.
But maybe we can't see everything from that because from my understanding, for mass to exist, there must be electrons and photons
Mhm,
as well. And, I mean, clearly neutrinos had, well, the whole thing, quarks and everything.
mhm.
And they must emit some type of
But itself, it's like for me, it's a scientific, no?
energy.
Like the, well, it's like so poetic. The life, the world is, the nature is so poetic,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the this universe is so poetic. I mean, my connect. It makes me more, you know, like emotional, but
Hmm.
not emotional. Emotional also in a way that I get more from it when I
So
like
when you
approach it
say
in that
that
way.
word poetic, you mean really like inspiring or inspirational, or it
Mhm.
has like some, yeah, it's like inspiration basically, no?
I mean, in my work, there's like a lot of intuition, but like in intuition, it brings me to a point where I'm interested in topic.
Okay.
But I'm interested in a topic, not just, you know, I want to only talk about topic. It's not. It's just
Yes, like one element takes you to another.
now I'm interested in a life. Now I'm interested in a life, and life comes from like micro and macrocosm where we live. But I'm interested in like synchronicities
Hmm.
and in a
Between these two realms,
between two
the
years,
micro and
yeah.
macro.
But like at some point I was putting that in that sense, in that way, that oh, I'm interested in how this reflects each other, and like it's not about, you know, I'm like I'm not doing scientific research, I'm
Hmm.
doing more poetic research. And like then pine which is growing here and which is growing in a land where they have Quetzalcoatl and you see it and like it's a snake,
Mm-hmm.
but you cannot. I mean, we can. I don't know if we can like understand why it has this form, why it has this form.
Well, maybe there's an archetype that somehow
Maybe,
fulfills
yeah,
that role.
maybe like I mean, I'm not qualified in that things,
Sure.
like to like just. But what I'm saying for me when I saw it was like, oh wow, love it, love
Right.
it. Before I was like planning to like this Google can get out what the name, so vibration of the name was like very close to me. So I was at some point I will make the artwork, which will be connected with that, and
Hmm.
then I made the artwork, but it was so different compared to what I had in my mind because I kind of the street of like the tree in Condesa first time gave me that like they gave me this the form which it has, but it gave me the connection. I connected this with this, and then it was like love it, no, like okay, that's cool, that's cool. And now just like some there's several things in Mexico which now it's I mentioned jacarandas. I think amate trees are
Amates.
very
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
interesting,
yeah,
very
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, they're crazy, and I think,
Usually they're like I mean that's
yeah,
just yeah, it's like life tree, no, like kind of
well, that's,
Yggdrasil
yeah,
in different cultures. Like so you have life tree,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but
It's
there you have it.
connecting.
No, as above as below, but there you have it.
It's above
Here
and
you
below.
have it. You don't need to think. You just look at it, and it is there for you. You can like connect through it from that point. Then when you like have the understanding of like which is we are living in this interconnected,
Hmm.
like which is we're just living. We're part of it, but there's like thing happening and happening in so poetic way.
Yeah, I mean, I think several I mean,
Life.
the tree of life and all these trees like that connect this sort of vision of like this is the spiritual
I mean,
domain.
how poetic it is, Mira. It just
Yeah, yeah,
grows in a
extremely.
stone, no? It grows on a stone and it makes these root formations,
Hmm.
and that's. But like, if we be like if we like look at it, boring. I mean, not just boring, but just it's a tree. Like nothing very cool, like tree.
Although I
But
have,
like you can get like so in love with this, like something
yeah,
in a.
I have a weird fact here, which is quite problematic for this
Mm-hmm.
vision. Apparently, the word tree has actually no meaning to what we actually see. They're all like small bushes or big bushes, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like plants, but no trees. There's no distinction. Like in the, I guess in the genus of, you wouldn't find trees as a common
Mm-hmm.
ancestor. There's always different like herbs or plants that are
Mm-hmm.
linked to each other. So what we see that are these massive things are gigantic plants, basically, for us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but not
Mm-hmm.
probably for some dinosaurs it would be a ridiculous little plant, But
Yeah, I mean, like, well,
I
Mexico
just thought
does have.
it's a funny fact to know because I feel like we are having a much of what our conversation is about is like
Trees.
what, yeah, yeah, also just the future as well. And
Uh-huh.
so I think for me it's interesting that we use a linguistic term that it's inspiring for us, or we have come to an understanding of the universality of trees without it being the case, So I feel like it speaks to a lot of our human condition, where we conceive of mythologies or universalizing concepts that actually are not factual or scientific,
Mm-hmm.
or we don't understand them this way, but it's a mythology. Well, it's a poetry still, like that we can appreciate. But I thought it's an
Mm-hmm.
interesting thing to think of because, I mean, I'm sure it affects the way that we understand this. But different trees have also, of course, been part of that notion of like what is above is below,
Mm-hmm.
like the ceiba. I know that the Mayans also thought this was like
Mm-hmm.
what connected
Mm-hmm.
the supra world with the underworld, basically. But I'm sure it's. Is there no? Well, I mean, the tree of life in the.
I think it's everywhere.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
this symbol we see everywhere in like all old cultures. Like there was that, but like if we talk, I mean, we talk about Mexico, and that's I think, I mean, my connection with the landscape here, and not just landscape, with all what happens, like the seasons. Like now you have jacarandas. I'm planning to go. I don't remember the name of the place, but as I've been told, my friend invited me. In May there will be like a field of cactus, and I think close by to San Luis Potosi or somewhere,
Uh huh.
like very desert like landscape, and it's like it will bloom. Just like tree of cactuses will bloom for 2 days. So like, what can you like? How more poetic it can get?
Sure.
Since that moment when I will stand in front of this like a landscape, look at it, and it just and I think like in Georgia I did had some like moments of like there's several places which I feel like a lot connection. But here, because I'm like not coming from here, some things are like, oh, I get like more easy surprised.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's the beauty of seeing things for the first time.
I
Sometimes, no?
first time I'm seeing like jacarandas, and jacaranda is like, it can be for some people it can be like, okay, the guy is like just overthinking or doing something. But when I walk in the night, or when I walk in the more in the night with night lights, like this gray with the purple,
Yeah,
it's like affects me at some point.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I don't know how it affects me, but I do think it affects me because I feel that I remember like 10 days ago, it was like first moment when I was like, wow. There was like someone collected jacarandas and they put together many leaves. Like no, not like there was no big, like just like the small, but it was like purple dot with a small on a gray.
Hmm.
And then I was thinking that all these people who live here experience that, and you do think about it or you don't think about it. It doesn't matter. If we like breathe bad air, we will be affected. We don't know or we know, we still get affected.
Mm.
So with this experience, you get affected.
No, yeah. I mean, I
It's
think
like
it's a visceral and sort of yeah. It's like
it's simple, most simple.
beautiful, beautiful and simple. Yeah, like experience of just receiving that frequency. Apparently, we don't understand purple. We've said it in different episodes as well. Like apparently, it's like a sort of green frequency that we don't see that
Green
creates the
frequency.
purple.
Okay.
So it's like a missing. It's not the presence of color, but it's the absence of our ability to see the color. You know.
Okay, so it's interesting. That's interesting.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
I mean, to me, it's very strange because also when we look at the horizon in the sunset or sunrise, we also see a shade of purple.
Mhm.
At least in Mexico,
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah,
common.
yeah, yeah.
But again, it's not. It's because we cannot see a frequency, and
Okay.
our brain basically. I mean, I don't like these simplistic terms, but the
Mhm.
brain sort of interprets this as purple.
Okay,
I mean,
lovely.
if yeah, and we pronounce it purple. Of course, we
Uh
that's
huh.
just a linguistic way of
Yeah, yeah. We know like the
describing.
color is the name of like it's Yasam Nisperi in Georgian.
You're violet, I guess.
Uh huh.
You could just
But I
lilac.
mean, when it happens, like let's continue on this,
Yeah.
like a moments of. I think that's when you like. That's when I feel alive. I feel most alive when I have this like moments of interaction, moments of connection with a simple thing, no? Like
Mm.
now I walk in the streets and collect jacarandas, and it's so boring, no? I mean, also not for me. For me, it's like so inspiring. I
Yeah.
love that I have like dry jacarandas, new ones, or but with that, I kind of like feel alive. It makes me feel alive,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
why it makes me feel alive, no? Like because
Why?
it's a simple, I think it doesn't
Yeah.
complicate me. It's not information, it's information, but it's information which can be translated afterwards
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
from the experience which you are having. But it's simple. It's like the moment of life.
Mm.
It's a simple, and it's a process of. I mean, my process
It's a
is just
process
all
or a
like my.
protest?
It's a. I mean, it's my
Process.
practice.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's go back to practice. It's like just about this life, about this. Like in my paintings now, there's like the trees, there's waters, there's landscape, mountains, there's like a lot of about the life, but kind of like the reality which is amplified. Kind of, I make it more not surrealistic. I make it more real.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to make it more real. That's my goal.
Mm-hmm.
And then just I think, I mean, I can't talk what connection other people have with it, but
No,
I
I
do
do
think
think.
like how people perceive my
Yeah.
art, no? And maybe they can connect through this moment of like experiencing life through the paintings, but then like not just through the paintings, kind of like, yeah, we can do it, no? We can like look 1 hour to jacarandas and like look how many like these purple flowers will fall down and what how it will paint
Mm.
the gray concrete. I just feel alive.
Which I mean, I am thankful for it as well, because I do feel like whenever the city is bombarded by these purple, it's or lilac, or I'm sure a lot of people in the audience will think it's
Hmm.
not purple, or lilac.
Yeah, actually, it's like so like it's
Or
bluish,
violet.
purple. Like kind of it has it's a strange color. But let's see when it will dry. Let's see what it will does. I mean,
Well, it is. I mean,
it lose. I have already dried some, so it becomes like it's I don't.
smushy.
Yeah, little. It's because the flower has a lot of color. No, a lot of water. With water, so when it dries, it becomes like a very brownish purple, something like that.
Like a darker tone.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah,
Something
it's
like that.
interesting you're using that, because I feel also like the texture of that leaf, well, sorry, of that
Hmm.
flower specifically, is like very flexible
Hmm.
also. So I wonder how this
I
paper
don't
that
know.
you're mentioning is
Yeah,
looking.
now I'm thinking to make paper from it because I used in some work. In one work, I used paper of a mate,
Mm-hmm.
and I loved how it's like it's a paint. It's like a painting. It's a paper. It's not like white, and it's just like real because it's a plant. It's like without us. It's just having these colors or the shapes of like very much connected to like microcosmic images of like microscope or
Okay.
you know. And now like I did one experiment, but it didn't work out. I lost the color. It was like just brown. But now I want to like make other experiments to kind of not lose the color of jacaranda, and I also want to make other papers like kind of
Mm-hmm.
to use for other works.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we will for sure show some of your work
Hmm.
here.
Hmm.
Um, but I think it's interesting to just mention, like, maybe as an outsider from your process, like, how
Hmm.
is it to look at your work? Because I do feel you are creating something that I have never seen, and I mean, I work in the art world. But what I find interesting of your work is the perhaps obsession you have. I know obsession can be interpreted in the wrong way, but I think it's a true quality, because I think your work shows different textures or territories almost within the work. I mean, you have, of course, your part where it's more painting, but even then you're using some type of earth, or any or these type of papers that you're
Hmm.
inventing to paint on them. And then clearly the imagery within the work is incredibly cosmic, and it always gives me the sense that I'm in awe which I feel like it's an experience that you're mentioning when you're just looking at
Mm-hmm.
the jacarandas
Mm-hmm.
in your case. Uh, but also, I see that the way that you're working out your frames, I know that you're not only coming from painting, but also like sculpture, and
Mm-hmm.
you've done furniture, and you like every type of material that you can use.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always found interesting that the surrounding of the imagery is part of that place that you want to bring us to, and I want you to get into it because I find it interesting that you use like pines and like not just one or two or four
Mm-hmm.
or five. It's like
Yeah, it's
60 pines to make a
mm-hmm.
frame, and then you combine the glues, and you're using everything matters to you in
Well,
that
it's like
that
a
range.
interplaying. I'm interplaying.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want to connect, and then like for now I'm doing some experiments for installations because that's also my practice, and I think I do. Like my process is very playful, and I just like interconnect this like my different endeavors in like endeavors with materials, with like soils, or with just like these flowers, or some like real things, because they are real, they are like,
Hmm.
it's not artificial.
So you have
And
a battle with
I have barro from Oaxaca, from Michoacan,
no,
from
no, not barro. Sorry,
barro is a
battle.
clay, no
Yeah, yeah, no,
barro.
I mean battle like a fight.
A barro
With
is a fight as well. I don't.
no, no, no,
I know barro
battle.
negro. I know la Oaxaca barro negro.
No,
Parra
that's
negra,
that's
parra negra.
no, no. Barro is one thing,
Barro is
but
a
I'm
okay.
saying battle. Like you're
Órale.
going to war with several notions of art that are mainly using artificial or synthetic like materials to work on.
Mhm.
But I feel like you're really trying to go into the natural, of
I mean,
course, and
because it's like
using that.
collaborative work. When now, yeah, that gives me like, I can like look at my in my studio. I have a when I go out, as I mentioned, I have different things. Like I have like some plants, some papers, some like airplanes. I started to collect airplanes. I'm like working on material now. I don't know what I will do, but I feel what I do. It will be some
Mm.
installation, I think, after. But what I'm saying is just like in a studio having a lot of different live material, like which is collected from like Ondesa or from like forests outside of Mexico. And like when I work with these materials, for example, working with the soil like grounds me. I feel like
Mm.
when my hands are in the dirt with the soil, I feel like grounded. I feel calm. I feel like this grounding feeling when you are
Hmm.
not like,
So you're not in just in your head, let's say.
yeah, just like
Brings you
I
back
I enjoy it a lot
to life.
personally, but then like I get amazed each time. I get happy. I like to be playful in my process. I like, okay, I'm doing this. Yeah, I'm working with it, and it makes me like I laugh.
Hmm.
I feel happiness because it's okay. I'm bringing like 5 kilo terra now in casa, no, in my house, like from and then I have so many things which I never use, but the right time comes and I use,
Okay.
but I still have them. But like if we walk together, for example, somewhere we go, I can like feel in like intuition that okay, I will bring that in my home, in my studio, and then I will put it, and it will be like for maybe 1 year. I will not. I will just look at it and feel happy that I have it, but then do something. Then when right time comes,
Mm.
and
But it's interesting to, I mean, of course, you mentioned earlier that when you were a kid, you were already collecting a lot of like materials that you would find in the woods.
mhm.
So it's interesting that you take perhaps that inner child or that curiosity that you had, which I think is, to be honest, like the noblest of curiosities is when a child is interested by or curious by nature or the universe or anything, inventions, etc. um, but it's cool, I mean, to see that you're bringing that in, and now in your maturity you're also saying, well, I mean, I've collected this, but for sure it has to be go back into the human life world, at least, you know, like not just staying in the closet, you
Yeah,
know,
of
with
course, of
in the
course.
cabinet of curiosities, but you want to show it around. And of course, you're part of the art world, so you want others to collect, you want others to see this and incorporate it
Well,
to
I
their
don't want that they collected. They need
no.
to. They want to. I mean,
If they're called to it.
I like of course it's like, for artists when you well we do that for people like for us as well, but we do that for people like for like creating this what was this new experiences like
Mhm.
new like bring something which was not existing before. But like in collecting, I'm like I don't want that they collect it. I mean I'm not. I want to just do what I'm doing and like spread it as much as possible and like give like give access to it to mass more people, and then they will want to collect it and they will, you know. So it's not. I mean, it's not about. I do see like the art. There's art market. There's like the part of business. Like just
Mhm.
you know. I'm also that guy. I want or I don't. I'm that guy. At some point, the galleries are like operating for that
Yeah,
reason.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
There's some like just the same market as like Mercado Medellin, where we can go and eat tacos. No,
Yeah.
see, it's the same, but there's all the alchemy beside like these tacos is like there. But
Yeah, I do feel like usually there's a paradox, no, of like between the creative well, human, whoever it is, or anyone else. I mean, maybe it's not human, you know. Between that creative process and then what happens after the work is done or when the work is finished, which I think is it's interesting to me. I mean, I do work in the art market, so to me it looks like, well, you may have finished your work, but then it takes another life, and it can take 100
mm-hmm.
lives, you know,
Mm-hmm.
if like because someone will pick it up or think it's um you know, like important or worth it to keep and maybe pay like thousands of X,
Mm-hmm.
Y, and Z
Mm-hmm.
like for that work, or so there's like this clear like, I mean, it's a strange word to use, but fetishization
Mm-hmm.
of like the objects,
Mm-hmm.
much like, but you also go through that process, I mean, in your own way, because you are reusing things from nature and bringing
Mm-hmm.
them into your process,
Mm-hmm.
creative process, and then putting something, constructing something out of it, and then moving it again. So it's always in this tide of like refeeding it to different like
Mm-hmm.
observers and interpreters, and you know, and I think like the economics of it is in the middle. But to me it's always interesting to see like who desires it as well, not
Mm-hmm.
just what makes it, but
Yeah.
like who is later on fantasizing about it, who's later on like collecting it or paying crazy amounts
Mm-hmm.
for it. I mean, it's something we should not ignore. I mean,
No, of course,
you know.
that cannot be ignored. No,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you
yeah,
pay your rent, I pay. I mean, there's bills to pay,
yeah.
and you connect yourself to this way of living of like just constantly creating and being like creative person. Like you have to do it. It's just you know, it's part. What I'm saying for me, it's like it's not less important.
Hmm. Well, it's
It's a
irrelevant to your
different
process somehow.
importance.
Yeah.
It's different importance. The working process and being in the work and being in production and like it's another thing. It's like it's connected with more things, which is more me. And this is like just the gameplay is a part of like artists lives to be in market and to like be collected and like pay your bills and like have your studio and love it, like love it. I love collectors. I like collectors. I mean, I have some of my friends who collect my art. I mean, there is some collectors with whom I'm not friend, but there is some collectors with whom I'm friends with, and they are like in touch with my work, like feeling connected. And
Yeah, which is probably the best thing you would want, to have
yeah,
them
I
close to
mean,
you as
it's good
friends.
to have a coffee with a friend and who admires your work.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because
Of
I
course.
remember like when started to sell first works, it was like I felt like, oh, these people believe in my work. No, it's not just only about the number of which you receive. It's about like you feel like, oh, they believe in my work
Yeah,
because and it makes you excited. I
yeah.
mean, it's like
And you choose this word, belief.
mhm,
It's like, why do you choose believe in your
believe.
work specifically?
Believing in your work is like believing.
Others believing in your work.
Yeah, but yeah, believing because I mean, if someone is paying you etc. money for some piece, no, they believe they believe that it's good. They believe they believe in you as like they're willing to have the energy from you. So you are
Mm.
like you made it. I
Mm.
mean, you don't made it like for like there's lots of goals. No, depends on how what's your goals, but you made it. The connection.
Yeah,
You read it from what came from you and what was there materialized. This person went and saw it and then felt the connection, felt this glimpse of connection. So you made it because this guy believed, or this who will collect
mm.
whatever, believed that it's good, it's like desirable. It's like
I mean, it's interesting. I mean, from
and believe more is in. I think like the belief is very important
yeah, yeah, yeah,
for
yeah.
artists. If you don't believe what you do, and
Mm.
if you're like not like and when you start to believe more, not just in not about the ego, it's like you believe what you do, you're in love what you do, then like people around you start to like it.
Yeah,
Like you just like vibrate in different frequency,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
which is
Yeah, like authentically
Mhm.
trust in
Yeah,
your
but just like
process and
I mean, I've been told many things, no, from different people, like from advisors, or it's okay to you have this and continue doing it, no, like
yeah,
don't do installation or like don't do artist books, do
yeah,
only painting, and do this specific painting.
yeah. Well,
And
fuck
if I
that.
believe in that, like I will like it's not my belief. My belief is personal.
Yeah,
No, I listen advice and I like to have open conversation with people because from people I get so much. I get like so much information, so much, but
yeah,
it's very personal. Like you just need to be, not need to be you. I want to believe fully as I can
mm.
in my practice and in my ideas, and make my ideas flourish, like not
Hmm.
just say no it's not possible, like say it's possible and like go for it and the right time comes with it, I think.
It makes me think. I mean, this topic. I mean, I'm asking this specific thing
Mhm.
about belief because I think. I mean, I come from philosophy and anthropology, and
Mhm.
when I first did philosophy, I remember that it wasn't about belief, right? Like it was the wrong word to use belief because it was like thought.
Okay.
What did you think? What did you, you know?
What? Okay.
So it's about reflection. It's not so much about belief in this unconscious sort of manner. And you have in the analytic tradition of
Mhm.
philosophy like this plenty of it's mainly like Anglo Americans that are um, saying this argument, which is like, what is a true justified belief, right? Which to me it was always strange because I was like, well, I'm not sure. Like, is it so analytic? Is it really so abstract? Like that people come to think, or in this case, believe or intuit a thing just from looking at it like that. Is it so abstract and analytic and
Mhm.
mathematical? And then in anthropology, this question arose again, And I was like, well, this is completely different, because in anthropology, you're not wondering if they are justified in their belief or is it true, etc. Which is, I mean, it's a bit obnoxious to use these terms because I think they've been sort of violated through time over and over again through either colonialism or different versions of what truth should be, or is there a truth, etc. But in anthropology, it was like starting from belief. So it was like, we don't have to understand what people think. They might think something, but they might believe, which in the end becomes a term that is deeper. It speaks about desire, it speaks about uh, culture and context. And to me, the fact that you use this word to describe like that relationship with the others makes sense. You know, it makes sense that it's a more unconscious, emotional sort of relationship that is, yeah, it's still this mystery of like, what is it actually, you know? And it's so it's a, it seems an easy question, but it's a very complicated thing to answer. Like, what is actually a belief? You know, it's like people believe in crazy horses and gods from all over, and you know, like they can make up all these narratives and stories about what they believe, but still, a belief is not a fact, right? It's not
Yeah,
a
belief is not like materializing things.
exactly. It's
When
not
we think,
abstract.
maybe it does, maybe it does.
Maybe it materialized, but yeah, but it's more about the experience. I think it's not so much about, you know, if there's a box here,
Yeah, yeah.
but
If
it's like,
we'll believe that this is triangle, if it will become triangle.
yeah. Maybe I tell you like, no, that's a triangle, and you're like, well,
Yeah, because you believe that
yeah,
it's
yeah,
triangle, but objectively, no, it's a. But
or
if we
yeah,
like a then like have 100 people believe that this is triangle,
yeah.
it will change its form. You think?
Which maybe is what the government in the end ends up doing, or like geopolitics
Yeah,
ends up doing. They tell you a
believe in that.
type of propaganda, right? Usually they say, believe in this
No,
X or
without
Y.
telling you that you need to believe it, but
Exactly.
like they just
Or sometimes you have to believe it. Like there's no,
yeah.
like
So
in
es esto.
the,
Uh,
any sort of extreme governmental structure may be fascist or like absolute
yeah, that's
communism or
actually
something.
with that. It's an interesting example. Is like North Korea,
North Korea?
where like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
they think that like the crazy things, like they won World Cup in football or some crazy different realities.
Yeah, and they
But
should believe that there's not a world that has different possibilities or different. I think that's like, it's such an instrument for geopolitics. It's such an instrument for new governments that enter and leave the old, and you know, like we are seeing it in our present, like that they're re reusing old narratives, choosing what to say, eliminating certain things that might question that idea. So I think it's an important role that art has to question belief and to mold new narratives with new beliefs, you know. I think for sure is, for me, the frontier where maybe in the early stage, maybe science does it in a different fashion, or different technologies can do it, but still, like, what is a belief today in an AI world? What is a belief in a fake fact world? What is, you know, it starts to be
yeah,
something super important. But it shows also that narratives in general are based on belief, and collective belief is what makes them real. It's not so much that they
yeah,
exist or not. It's like if the
the
collective believes in it.
justification. But who gives that collective, um, like
That belief.
yeah, like I mean, we said like the belief becomes true at some point, like when it's like accepted by etc. group of people, like when it's like becoming like when 100 people believes in something, it's more real than one person believes in it. But who has the power to like make us believe things? What you think? Like
I
who?
Well, I think it.
Like with whom some narratives are created? Like who is this people who?
Yeah.
I mean, this was like the books, no? Like the books, for example, like first books. I mean, first like I mean, all after book is created, I think, and it becomes popular.
Yeah.
Then like it transforms. If it's like it has like big influence, and a lot of people read it, and then they believe it. It it's like changes this reality kind of, because then reality becomes what is written there.
Yeah.
But like, who gives power to that book to become so popular, or it's just happening?
I guess, I mean, I'm not sure I can reply fully, like with
Yeah, I mean, it's
my
abstract question,
yeah
but
my
like,
my notion of it would be that often there's people that want to have something happen, and then they just force it upon different narratives, and the narratives, if you see them repeatedly often, that becomes a belief system. But also I feel like there's, of course, like archetypical um, notions and ideas that link those beliefs to us, like to our capacity, to our cognition. No, so like, as you say, Quetzalcoatl, and um, maybe the dragon of like Asia, and dragon in Europe. They're all perhaps different versions of that archetype that is linked to. I mean, the Jungian version would be that, but I also think there's a strength in the ideas. And on another note, I would say, um, when our beliefs are not coinciding with reality, reality ends up fucking us. So, like, if we say, look, let's say we're in ancient Japan, just to put a perspective.
I would love to be in that.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, some samurais fighting, and there's this belief of hierarchy and Shinto and all these things. But let's say someone says, well, I saw that the waters are getting crazy. There's a storm coming. Maybe there's this thing that happened before, which was a tsunami, and it might happen again. I must tell the population in my town what's going on. If they don't believe the guy,
Yeah.
that's
So
what I
yeah,
mean
yeah,
with
yeah, yeah.
reality will fuck you if you don't have the right belief systems. Of course, belief is this weird thing which is collective, and it can be religious, it can be mythical in every way.
Now it's on that. No, like world is
Exactly.
standing on belief.
Yeah, like
Those people
today
don't
we
believe.
don't
Yeah.
believe in climate change, even though we think we do. We still act like
Yeah,
it's
we
a
still
normal
act
day.
like who gives a.
Yeah, who gives a fuck?
Uh-huh.
Like nothing will happen, but then fires happen. I mean, the best case for me is LA, like the fires happen in the entertainment industry, basically, in the US. It's like the producers of beliefs are literally being like erased by fire. Like tons of neighborhoods went to shit,
Yeah, horrible. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and like the I heard from many people coming to Joe's gallery, that the whole neighborhood has turned to dust, but also the residues of the houses are toxic as hell, so you cannot build on top of that. But no one is believing the contrary, because if you step on that soil and you actually build on top of it, and it has toxins in it that are toxic to humans, then you're fucked again. So beliefs are still like this thing of, okay, you have to create a coincidence with the world. You cannot just have beliefs that are absurd and fantasy level and just are terribly like off the chart of reality. But
Yeah.
I think we're seeing that more and
If
more.
there was a like fire, you cannot believe that there was no fire because there was a fire. But what do you think if we can manipulate, like, I have the power to create beliefs, but to use it in for example, let's make the world believes that you need to take care Earth, like you need to like let's make, but how we can make these people believe that you don't need to throw the trash in a river,
Mm.
But if we have the tools to make people believe things, because now like we believe some things, no, like some things are explained. I mean, for you more because you're coming from like you like from philosophy background, and it's just like we also
Hmm.
is this like all these authors from there was believe. I mean, like something made us believe that what they say is what it. I mean, es esto, no?
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
so that's interesting because if we can manipulate, I mean, if we can have power, maybe we can like use it in a way to like make people believe in good things. Like good
Yeah,
things is easy to say, but like in
yeah, sure.
things which will serve the community in
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
a healthy way,
And may
no?
hopefully more than humans.
Because belief also can be like dangerous at some point, because
Yeah, of
with
course.
beliefs can destroy the world.
Yeah,
How
yeah,
it
yeah.
can create, it can destroy.
Yeah.
Like the villains of our era, for example, like for my perspective, like they don't believe that they're evil. They don't believe that they're like doing
Mm.
something. Everyone believes in their true, no? But then what's the true?
Sure. Yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean that's
well,
the
yeah.
big concern with
For
data,
example,
you know.
like you are having your thoughts, I have like your position, my position, and we're not like it's a controversial. It's like not aligning,
Hmm.
and you believe in it, so it's a true. But I'm like, I will like try my best to tell you that it's not true. But then you will try your best to tell me that no, no, Nika, es esto, this is this.
Hmm.
But like, what makes it true?
I
I
think
mean, there's some objectives, no, like materiality and things, but like
even
kind of
though even that could
yeah.
be
But if we
questioned, right?
talk
But
about politics, or I mean, I
yeah,
don't like to talk about politics, but
yeah.
it's about like this, who for us now can be bad guys, like easy said. They are not thinking that they're bad. They believe in their
Yeah,
ideas,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that's dangerous
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They're
because
pacifists
they're
maybe,
like the
but they
same
have a
true.
crazy military, you know.
They have the same true,
Yeah.
and they feel like that they're doing something great, same as we do. But yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
Same true.
but think of, I mean, we have a very clear like new technology which definitely puts us in a checkmate, you know, because definitely AI and how I mean, at least from my perspective, how I see the players that own the new inventions like OpenAI,
Hmm.
DeepSeek, all these new things that are coming from like incredible scientists and engineers and architects, etc. Like I mean, I deeply appreciate them for their inventions and all that. But they are creating basically algorithms that are that have those belief systems that might be completely like effed up, you know, to other people's standards, and if their sense of good or evil is within that boundary, I mean, that makes the whole thing complicated. I do want to say, like, the scientific method supposedly is
Hmm.
that counter um, belief tool, because in the end you need to be uh, you need to find evidence for what you think, and the evidence has to be repeated constantly to verify it, and it also should be falsified, because if there's not a theory there, at least that's the
Hmm.
traditional philosophy of science view, that if you're not able to falsify something, then it means that you're just using it in as you will, you know, like, because if you say, well, this is the case, unless, you know, something else happens that is not this, well, how else can you prove it? And also that you have to be peer reviewed, no, that you should have someone else check your work
Hmm.
and check the evidence and check the tests and all that and repeat the test, and then after thousands of tests you should have a viable objective truth that might tell you like what's the actual thing.
Hmm.
Of course, with human beliefs, that's always problematic, no, because I think that's for like hard sciences. But in social sciences, for example, it was never even like graspable to have that condition, because you always have um, like in hard sciences, you can literally isolate events, no, like physical events, like you can place perhaps some particles, etc., together in an isolated
Yeah,
void,
check
right?
it. Like,
But humans are never in an isolated void unless you put them in confined, solitary confinement or something like that, you know. But and even then, you're taking them out of a context that usually is the way that we live life. So it would be an artificial test that is not really realistic, you know. So it's always difficult. I mean, as an anthropologist, it was never. That was the issue historically. I think that people would say, "Oh, look, either if you come from the colonial side or the uh, conquered side, you know, it's like you always have a bias within your perspective. You're always coming to a, I don't know, a disagreement about what your belief system is because you come from a different context and history. I mean, there's
Yeah.
many phenomenologies saying like you are you and your context. You're never just you. You know, you're never just your brain.
Yeah, of
You know,
course.
or
Like there's so much influence, no, through the life, and there's like situations which we just arrive, no, like the family backgrounds and
yeah,
so many
yeah.
things influence us.
If your dad was bad with you or your mom,
But at some point, I
you know,
think you can work with it, no,
yeah,
like you can. I work often to like see some if I'm working on some plan or ideas. I'm like just trying to see what I want, like see what I want, what I've been told that I want, what I need to want, or
but it's
uh,
hard. How
it's
how
hard.
have you escaped that, for example?
I
Because I
mean,
feel a lot of people in any background usually have that when they're like growing up, you know, and you have this paradox of fulfilling your parents' desires of what they think you should be
yeah,
to what you want to do and want authentically to be. So as an artist, of course, you have to live an authentic, I mean, from my perspective, to
yeah, I
make good
agree.
works, you
You
need to
don't
be
do that,
authentic.
you will be. I mean,
Yeah, just shit, you know.
so I do think, yeah, as I said, it's like for me, it's real life is like when you are living, when you're experiencing life, but it's like you understand what's yours and what's not yours. And personally, my case is now I feel that, yeah, it's like I'm in Mexico, I'm Georgian, I'm living here, and I'm like envisioning myself living here for more time, and for like this will be like one period in my life when it will be not like 5 months, no, it will be more than that. And this is a decision which I made.
Yeah, I'm
And
sure
like
your parents would tell you, come
some
back.
situationships kind of helped me to make the decision, but it was more like, do I want to be and live and be alone and just isolated from like other life which I had in Georgia. And I think, yeah, it's like the decision, maybe unpractical, maybe like just kind of you go and you open the doors and you are like you don't know anyone, but you then you make it happen in the end. But I feel that I was connected with, like, personally with intuition more, and not just I didn't knew to, like some people make these big decisions to change the country to live in other country when they have like some things they're like settled, no, like you have the job or you have the art resi or you have project or etc. But I didn't had anything, any of it. When I moved here, I was like just like, yeah, let's go. I was feeling something, and I this something I think is ultimate. That's what we when we know, no,
Yeah,
like
that's,
when with
yeah,
intuition we know that this is ours.
mm,
Personally, me, I
yeah.
use intuition a lot. So when I feel that okay, that's me, then I go for it. And sometimes I do things which I discover afterwards. That's not me. Why I'm doing that? you know, why I'm reacting like that, from where this pattern is coming in me, you know. Then I observe, okay, that comes because I was hanging out with this group of people 2 years ago for like 1 week, and I like somehow catch something in me,
Hmm.
and
Yeah, like
then
habit
yeah, habit, or like some patterns which we like reactions over like some
people,
things, and it's
event.
so it's just like the friends and people as a bit of a family, like the, you know, it's just we choose things afterwards, but
Hmm.
we don't choose our families. I love my family, of course, everyone loves their family. That's, but what I'm saying is just, it's the background where we arrive in the world, we don't choose.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
we
yeah.
are already
We're thrown.
constructed, if our family is this type of family, or this kind of family, or this kind, like middle class, low class, high class, royal class,
Mm.
whatever, like you have completely different background when you arrive. But then if you want to get free from it, you need to question what you want, no? Or you just like go with the flow and live how many people live,
Mm.
like they eat, they fuck, they die, no, they walk.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not bad. I'm not saying, it's just
No,
some
no, no.
people,
I agree.
like I know some people who really like,
I
they
agree.
know what they will do. They will work,
Yeah, yeah,
they
yeah.
will have a whatever, like they will create the families, they will have, then the life become that, oh, I need to provide for my family, and that's amazing thing. This is beautiful. It's not that I don't like it, but it's not like what you want really.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to like live differently, no? I prefer to live differently. I don't know what's this differently, see, living differently, no, but living like in a way, I mean, living not like houses how we have, like live in a house which we don't have, like new house.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're describing is something that perhaps many of us see and experience, where we don't even own the habits that incorporate
Mm-hmm.
our lives. And I think it's always, um, not that it's wrong. I guess it's just like the way we evolved, you
Yeah,
know.
it is what
Like
it is, just
imitation is part of the way, or in philosophy we use this term mimesis.
mimesis.
Yeah, it's like imitation, or like the way that we incorporate emotions is always through others, and we're always thrown into the world without our choosing, and also interact with um, a context that also is not of our choosing, and we go to schools that probably are not our choosing,
Mm-hmm.
and so on. So we're always in debt to the other to a degree, but also I think, yeah, as you say, it's very important to um, come to a type of enlightenment, and I don't mean it in a sacred or religious way.
Mm-hmm.
I just really mean it in the fact that we must find our authentic life that is also about our well-being, about like not, I mean, we talk a lot about it in a woke culture or something, you know, like that we continue repeating the same mistakes over and over again from our ancestors, or like maybe our parents were violent, and then we, because we are traumatized, we become violent, or the other way around. No, it's like maybe we had great ancestors who
Mm-hmm.
taught us the other way, like, oh, you should question why
Yeah.
you're being violent, or you should question why you're being like angry or negative, or positive even, you know, like. But I think it's important to take that in, I mean, especially in your work, in your line of work. I think it's people sort of understand your, and maybe it's about art in general. I think like the fact that usually it's not imitable, like as a creative force and power, the fact that someone can maybe sit down in these cities in China, for example, that where they imitate uh, works by great masters like Van Gogh
Mm-hmm.
and all these things. You know, it's super interesting to go into that detail. But actually, creating from the same idea is not. a thing. It's not possible. You know, I don't think
Yeah, I
it's.
mean, it's like still you will make copy. You know?
Hmm.
It will not be. It will not come from you. It will. But still, what's? Yeah, I mean, it just you can live better if you
Hmm.
question what you want, and you will get what you want.
Yeah.
And I know. I think if you know what you want with your body, with your mind, with like you know what you want, you get it. Whatever, like it can be like wanna become ultra wealthy or wanna you know what you want, you go for it, you get it. But I see that a lot of people doesn't feel what they want.
Mm.
As they don't think, they just. I'm not talking in a. I'm not criticizing them. I was the. Now I know what I want. I wanted to come here. I wanted to live here. I'm like, I have some plans, I know, but what I found in myself at some point was like, at some point in my life, I don't know. I wanted to like have a studies in Academy of Fine Art. I don't know,
Mm.
but I had, and what I was doing there, I was having studies, but it was not my decision. It was more like decision from culture, from family,
Mm.
from that you supposed to do that and
Yeah,
go
yeah, yeah.
to that direction. But when I started to like do what I want, and that's the best place I think for me to do it, because I'm very like communities. My community here is like all the people who I have around I met here. I don't have people from a past. Very rare. Maybe someone is traveling sometimes, but so I think with that I have like the empty, and I can like think very correctly what I want. And when I have what I want, like little successes, I feel like different. I don't feel like I'm in a sleeping mode when just like daydreaming, like just going each day doing something and then going to sleep. I mean, it makes me feel alive,
Hmm.
and like we are alive. No, it's something
Yeah.
very very cool that
Cherish it.
we, yeah, very very cool that we are.
Because we're tied to the different side of life as well.
But like you do that, I think you just like discover new perspective of life. No,
Hmm.
and I think like people, if they will think about what they want, they will have the answers. No, like they. But why you want? I mean, yeah, everyone wants iPhone, but that's cool. No, I
Mm.
mean, I'm talking more about like
No, but
what you
it's
want. Yeah, how you wanna live, what you wanna
yeah.
do. Like, oh, this is important. No, everything is possible, but what you want to have.
But it's interesting because even I mean I think it goes back to this idea of belief,
Mm-hmm.
where like as you said, why do you want this new technology? Were you told that this is what you wanted?
Mm-hmm.
Did you want it?
Yeah, I
Probably
think
not. You know, it's
probably
like
not. Like, yeah, it just like how this like capitalistic world just selling us things.
yeah, yeah,
No,
yeah, yeah.
like okay, this is very practical. Now we cannot function without phone, or we're like hermits. We live in a forest, or
Yeah.
and if we are not living in forest, we do have phone. But like the idea of just make you want something to own and pay for it, and like everyone has. I mean, that's like that's crazy. That it's like artificially
Implanted basically.
implanted, and then now it's like so poised. Now it's like one grande, no, one big like big thing, but
Mm.
it was not before. But then like with the believing, make us believe that if you have iPhone you're cool, or it's like the best phone, or whatever
Mm.
the narrative was. But it made us like it created this like a huge industry of like everyone, we're just.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like
I mean, it
the
changed everything. You
yeah,
know.
the guy made us believe that this is the best product, and like some weird like clothing, like, or art as well, like this called like why, like if objectively Van Gogh, who I admire a lot, was great, and objectively he was great because he was painting in a life. When he was alive, he was painting this painting, but then people believed in him when he died. And when he died,
Yes.
people, I mean, what I'm saying, why this painting is cost now $100 million, and why back then it was like 3 francs or something. No, why?
Yeah.
Because some people made some people believe. So
Yeah, I mean,
I think, yeah,
what
it
is
is
authentic life? You know, is in the end the problem.
because the guy was alive. No, he
Yeah.
didn't. He was. I mean, it's not about him as well, because it just
Yeah,
it's just
well,
legenda.
he was part of this issue that we mentioned about
Mm.
belief and maybe fetishization of things, or collecting also, and but it's also about the things that die and sort of are gathered, you know, by humans and incorporated in this new world. And it's always a world of value and hierarchy, and we're motivated by these really mysterious um, forces, I guess. No, I'm not really speaking about deities or anything, but we do have like these inspirations, emotions, and also clearly can fall to different marketing, propaganda, belief systems that are not our own, as we say. Even habits can be something that you sort of incorporated to yourself, and rituals and storytelling that you don't is not yours. It's not yours. It's not your authentic self.
Yeah.
But Nika, I think we've come to the end of this wonderful podcast. It's been a privilege and a pleasure to welcome you.
Thank you for having me, for invitation.
I hope this gives you some new engine for creating incredible works, and continue doing it, mate.
Thank you.
But yeah.
Well, salud.
Ciao.
Salud.